when we play wherever it is, whether I'm playing with the New York Philharmonic or when I'm playing with my group or both, it's about creating the energy that anybody could see and take something from it. Well, you're gonna get me in trouble here. You know, I think Roberta Flack stands out at the top, not only because of her body of work and her impact globally as a singer, pianist, and composer, songwriter, but also because of how it happened. It happened in Trinidad, and I was sitting in with her band. I came up on stage to take a solo during a song called Back Together Again. She played at Zen nightclub, and I remember they bought a piano for her to play on, and she signed it. And after the show, she turned around when I was soloing because she didn't even know I was going to be there. And after the show, she said, "Young man, it was very nice to play with you. We're playing in Connecticut next weekend. I'll see you there." And I was like, "Wait, I just got a gig just so?" End up in Connecticut for the weekend. Show up to the show, show up to sound check. You know, there's no music, there's no written music, there's no sheet music. You just had to stand up and listen and old school, real old school. And then after that show, she said, "Son, this was very nice. We're playing in Clearwater next weekend. I'll see you there." I was just like, yo, what kind of thing is this? So, but seeing how her music impacted not only the musicians on stage, but the audience. And still to this day, I remember certain moments on stage where everybody's singing. And she's such a brilliant artist, and her story is very inspiring. So I think she kind of stands out. So for me, it's almost like when I was in primary school and we were all charged with writing a calypso for the calypso competition, which we had to do. Everybody had to do that. But that for me was a very moving point because it shaped me to understand the concept of speaking to the moment and understanding that there are things that people may or may not know. And calypso does that. When you look at Dimash Gra, for me Dimash Gra is special because it's the combination of the best stories of the year put in song. And that's kind of what I try to channel through my music, is to be able to speak to not only current events, but also to what happened in history. You know, some of the great calypsonians I love who do that, or who've since passed on, people like Joker Winsford Devine, who not only could tell a story of the time, but he could also tell into the future. So like when he said, "In time to come, America will have a black president," you know what I'm saying? He recorded that whole many, you know, the way his mind worked. So for me, it's always about trying to channel that. I mean, like you said, I'm Trini to the bone. So my music is also about bringing the road to the stage, because nothing like the road carnival time. Tuesday morning is a specific type of road. Monday afternoon is a different type of road. Monday night is a different type of road. Tuesday is a different type of road. Tuesday night for the last lap. All of them are different types of road to me, different types of energy. And so trying to channel all of those things, especially now that I have this carnival band. So it's like artistically I'm making this dialogue happen between what I do here and what I do worldwide with my music, and then when I come back home to be on the road. So it's more of bringing home with me everywhere I go, and then also bringing what I learn outside back into home. Nah, for me, I some people talk about 5-year plans and 10-year plans and 20-year. For me, I have a 5-minute plan. I like it. You know, and I always just just moved along based on what seemed like a logical next step based on what was happening. And sometimes there are leaps of faith. Putting out albums is always a leap of faith. Going on a tour is always a leap of faith. Starting a carnival band is a hell of a leap of faith. You know, especially live brass music, which had been almost extinct for years.
Brass festival. When
Right.
was the last time there was a brass festival?
Maybe early 2000s, maybe late 90s.
That might be the next step.
Well, we're on the road, you know, and the idea came about when I first started school here at Juilliard for my master's. And the first concert was the music of Herbie Nichols. And I remember saying Nichols, Nichols. But as a Trini name, I know some Nichols from Trinidad. But I didn't pay attention. Played the concert. And the coach for the concert was a gentleman by the name of Frank Kimbrough, great pianist and scholar of Herbie Nichols' music. He picked up on my accent and he said, you know what, where are you from? I said, I'm from Trinidad. He said, well, you know, Herbie's family was from Trinidad. And he was born right there. Literally, he pointed right there. And I was like, he said, yeah, he's from San Juan Hill. And that was my first introduction to anything Caribbean in New York being outside of Brooklyn or Long Island. You see what I'm saying? So that kind of sparked an interest. And then Monty Alexander I was in a rehearsal with Monty Alexander, and he started talking about Thelonious Monk and how his music had almost like a Caribbean calypso type bong. And I was like, yeah, you know, I never thought about it, because when we play it in straight ahead, you go. So I was like, what? And he said Monk was from San Juan Hill, and that was a Caribbean working class neighborhood. Or there was a significant amount of working class Caribbean people there. So then there's this name again. So next thing was robbing D.G. Kelly's book. And he paints the book paints a cinematic image of the neighborhood. Talking about West Indians here, and Puerto Ricans here, and blacks from the South here, and Irish and Italians, etc. And I kind of saw it. And then I started doing more research on it. You know, this needs to become a piece. And the opportunity came when I was in conversation with Lincoln Center. They had commissioned me before for another piece. And I brought this to them. I said, I have an idea. I think there needs to be acknowledgement to show and to celebrate and to center the people who were here before. And not just the indigenous people, but all the people who came after and what they contributed. So these people contributed to some of the greatest jazz works ever to have happened. People like Benny Carter, Thelonious Monk, Russell Procope, who's West Indian immigrant. Ram Ramirez is from the neighborhood. Arturo Schomburg lived in the neighborhood. Zora Neale Hurston lived in the neighborhood. There's so many greats. It was, you know, it was kind of like a black bohemia of sorts. And so I wanted to center them and then talk about a couple different points in history to just showcase, to give people a kind of like a musical immersion type vibe of like what it would have been like to, you know that these were a lot of tenement buildings occupied these streets, and thousands of people occupied these tenement buildings. Sometimes 5,000 people in a block, sometimes a couple hundred people in a building. And these buildings had no running water. These buildings had no bathroom. You know, just thinking about what it's like to live like that. So, and it's interesting, they say time teaches you, right? And trial and error. And when I did Folklore, the album came out in 2008, and we started playing the music. At first, I would just introduce the song, and then I started describing the characters on stage before each piece. You talk about Dwayne. You talk about the hat covering the feet. You talk about the feet turned backwards. You talk about Elijah Bless with the cow foot. You talk about Papa Bar with the dare party. You know, Mama Dlo with the suit. And people will come up to me after and they be like, "You mean to tell me the feet are turned backward?" And I realized that just by telling the story, an image was being created. And we did a performance of Folklore in Trinidad with dancers in costume. And people said that the music was showed a different way because they could see the images. So, and when I did my carnival project, I had huge video screen above the band. So when we playing Jab Malassi, I could send you the videos. Jab Malassi's on display, like literally on a big screen. You seeing Jab Malassi spitting fire. You know, you seeing them coming for money, and it put audiences abroad. It put them on the streets of Port of Spain, and audiences in Trinidad. A lot of them, it was the first time they had ever seen some gems of their culture, our culture, on a big screen. So with that carnival, and then so when I got to do this, I was like, I have to assemble a team that is going to be able to fully immerse people into certain scenes, so they get an idea of sometimes tension, ideas sometimes of hardship, sometimes of joy and ecstasy from the experience of community and art in what we now know as Black New York, when we had the Charleston dance and the house rent party. So it's about channeling all those things through sound, because my medium is sound, but also to create some visuals that when you look up, you see, this is what a tenement may have looked like, or you see the face of a child, or you see just different hints. DJ Cool Hook, he was the first. Kokla Rock, Africa Bambata, Grandmaster Flash, all West Indians. First time that I constructed a piece 100% dedicated to the concept of marginalized people, but also as an effect of colonialism and the migrations that happened as a result, was this piece called the San Jose Suite. And it was a focus on the effects of colonialism based on 3 former Spanish colonies from the perspectives of the Afro-descendants and the indigenous peoples of each place. And so I think that was 2014. I started writing that, premiered it in 2015, and traveled to each place, sat down with people, got stories, learned the history. And it was interesting because there was a certain energy that happened in the music from being where these people had been for centuries. And that was when I realized that something needs to continue. One of my mentors went to Marsalis. He did an album in 1985 called Black Codes from the Underground, which came out ironically 200 years after the French published Le Code Noir, Black Code 1685. Just by that title, sometimes just having a particular title, you taking an activist stance because you're reminding people that something happened. And so with San Jose Suite, I remember there's a movement about Hayarima. It's just where that, the name Arima. And Hayarima was a feared Napuyo warrior. And there's a date, supposedly it was October 14th, I think, 1637, that he attacked the Spanish town of San Jose, which at the time was the Spanish capital. And the way it's documented is from a letter from the Dutch to one of the Spanish governors. I was like, no, we never learned about that. So I literally put his name and the date in the title, so that you could just go on Google and then be like, ooh. So that, is it activism? I don't know. Some people think it is. I think of it as a call or beacon to stories that may not be told, so that you could then be, oh, well, if this happened, then I could do this. So I think of it as a way that art can highlight, and then you do what you want with it, because that's what the beauty of art, right? I mean, I say check-ins with my parents, because they, for me, the stalwarts of structure and stalwarts of drive and purpose. They're both retired public servants from Trinidad and Tobago, and they were part of a group of public servants that really helped to build build the country,
My mom was a teacher.
build a newly independent nation. You think about that, like 1962 was not long ago, and that they were part of the ins and outs of what became what I see as an industrial nation. And it was daily, it was patience, and there was always the time for family. There was always the understanding of better days ahead, the understanding of what days were before. So there was always a concept of a journey. And I'm from a big family. My mom is one of 7, my dad is one of 12. So I have a lot of great examples of aunts and uncles who were on that daily quest. And not just them, but neighbors. And that's the beautiful thing about being from where we're from. Is your neighbor, you know, one of my neighbors, Mike, was a welder. You know, Uncle Ian working in the bank, whoever, you know, everybody. But for me, the model, the Uncle David was a doctor. The model that I saw was people going and doing what they need to do, coming home, liming on the weekend, in the barnyard Friday night, you know, posy on the head or pampers on the Juve morning with a dress, you know. So like literally, you see the person who might look completely stiff and stoic and all business like, and then Juve morning they covered in mud, hugging up, you know, and going down the road and a duster, as we call morning duster, you know. So that for me, that's the beauty of where we're from, is that we were taught process. We were taught, you know, in a very, I would say, in a very holistic way, and then we learn to apply it to whatever we want to see change. Legacy is challenging. It's interesting because I think of my grandparents and I think of what they accomplished. And if I could think of all of my grandparents, the main points, the main words that come to mind for my grandparents were integrity, service, loyalty, and love and strength. My grandmother, her mother died when she was very young, 8 or 9. She had to drop out of school, and she became the mother of her brothers. And that didn't stop her. She built beach properties, would rent them out. She started running her own business. She had 7 children of her own with my grandfather. You know, woman who's the daughter of a Martinican immigrant and a Warao Venezuelan in Mayaro, and moved to the big city of San Fernando. People forget San Fernando is a big city, and so just to see that legacy and see that they would continuously serve the community, reaching out to children in the community. Same thing with my father's mother and my grandfather playing parang all over, and just the concept of paranging, going from house to house to bring joy through music. Now the parang had to be good, because if you stand up outside and you start playing what they call it, the annuncia, and you see when you start playing and the lights turn off, no, so understanding that there are so many different ways that we can serve, and so for me it's music, and from at a basic level it's bringing joy through the beauty of the art of music. But on a deeper level, it's about bringing awareness and understanding that music is one of the main ways that we create community, or we bring community together. When you think of a calypso community, or when you think of Orisha, some of the tie-in the binds are the music. And so when I think of legacy, I have to strive to be like them, because they set great examples for my parents who are stalwarts of loyalty, service, simplicity, family, joy and fun, travel, exploring the world. My grandmother said she was raising citizens of the world. Even though I'm Trini to the bone, I see myself as a man of the world. And that's for me, it's because when you go down the road and wherever there's Paris or wherever, we home, but we not home, 'cause, and yeah, just those things. Just I think service and loyalty and keeping the goal of searching for new ways to engage people.